You're listening to Success Stalkers Radio, episode 34, with the motivational comedian Stan Pearson.
Hey everybody, this is Ian Floyd from the Love and Sensibility Podcast, and you're tuned into my girl Ioana Garrett on the Success Stalkers Radio Show.
Welcome to Success Stalkers Radio. I am your host, Ioana Garrett. People all over the globe are rewriting the rules to success. They're making money and changing the world. Join me Monday through Friday as I interview today's top entrepreneurs, business leaders, and entertainers that will leave you inspired to take action and achieve success on purpose. Are you ready? Let's dive right in. Okay, let's get started. Welcome to another episode of Success Stalkers Radio. I am your host, Ioana Garrett, and I am simply thrilled and excited to introduce my guest today, Stan Pearson II. So Stan, are you ready to stalk success today?
I am ready to stalk. It's better than being stalked, I tell you what. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm all ready to go.
Good deal. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, Stan Pearson II is a speaker, motivational comedian, author, and salsa dancer. He travels the world speaking on leadership, diversity, self-esteem, and how you find your sexy from the inside out. He has earned a bachelor's degree in Spanish and an MBA with a concentration in management. He is incredible at connecting with his audience and teaching people how to connect with each other as well. He uses engagement, interactive activities, and humor to educate his audiences regardless of race, religion, and socioeconomic background or ability. He has become one of the most sought-after speakers in the country, and it won't take you long to figure out why. Stan will provide you with an incredible experience and show you how to truly create lasting change on your campus, with your students, and our employees, and even in your life. So Stan, I've given our listeners just a little overview about you. So take a minute, tell us about you personally, because we want to get to know you first, and then give us an overview of your business.
Well, thank you very much. Personally, as you mentioned, I love salsa dance. One thing I think it's important what's important in life is music and a way to feel something outside of, just words, some kind of movement. So that's what kind of brings me back to, life, back to square one if I'm ever having a tough time. And, I absolutely love family. I'm a family person. That's why, it's tough for me now sometimes. Just, I live away from my family. I always have, but I love them. I'm close to them. And I appreciate good family. I like, watching good family. I know it sounds crazy, but it's just great to be around good people. So at the end of the day, if you describe me, I'm definitely a people person. I like to be around good people. Married, just celebrated 2 years of marriage.
And congratulations.
Thank you very, very much. And just knowing that life is a continuous learning project. You continuously learn in life. And so I'm enjoying that as well. And in terms of my business, I think it's much like life. It's constant growing. And the idea of, you never want to be satisfied with, let's say, status quo. Just always pushing the envelope and developing yourself and developing, my particular business, which is, I would say first and foremost, if someone asked me what I did, I'd tell them that I'm a professional speaker / motivational comedian. And that has given me, using those avenues, using this gift, has given me a chance to live out my dream and pursue more, which was not always an easy process.
Yeah, that is so wonderful. So wonderful. And I love that you're a motivational comedian. That's awesome. I love it.
Thank you very much. I figure, if I can make people think and laugh at the same time, I could be onto something.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. You get them to laugh, you got them, I'll tell you.
That's it.
Well, Stan, we're going to dive deeper into your journey in just a little bit in the interview. But before we do, we always like to start off with a success quote. So if you have one, we really want to get the motivational ball rolling. So take it away.
Right. I tell people often in my programs this way, don't worry about being perfect. Just be better today than you were yesterday.
That's good. That's good. So can you give me an example, Stan, of how you've applied, that along your journey? that quote?
Wow. You know, watching, I watch, YouTube clips like everyone else. But for different things and even TV shows. So I find motivation in the most random places. And just the idea of no one is perfect, you know? Like people have found the most success in life. And that's whether you've seen someone on TV, star studded, or just, let's say, a regular everyday person who's living life and they're happy. And they found their happiness through some kind of failure, which they learned. And I also tell people the best mistakes are the ones you don't make twice, but it's just making sense out of things, knowing, wow, I don't have to be perfect, And again, for anyone who's a driven person that's listening right now, easier said than done. We all know that. But giving yourself a break to go, you know what? Yes, this happened. It wasn't right, or it was wrong, or I could have done it this way, but nothing has to be perfect. Just kind of the point of waking up and going, you know what? Today is going to be a little bit better than yesterday. And I think that helps me so very much. When I left Chicago, I worked for Enterprise Rent a Car for about a year. Some change, I'll make it really quick. I'm sorry. So I
That's okay. No, go ahead.
and I moved to Texas. So I took a job at a university, and I had never lived in Texas before. I was going there by myself, literally. I knew no one, and actually, it was in Laredo, Texas. So now we're
Okay.
talking about 97% Latino, a place where you'd probably be more comfortable if you only spoke Spanish than if you only spoke English. So it was
Right.
great for me, but in the general sense, I mean, it was just a different kind of culture shock.
Right.
Before my dad and I got into the car in Chicago to road trip down to Texas, he said, you know what? I want you to make a list. And I'm like, what kind of list? He said, I want you to make a list of all the reasons of why you're moving to Texas. And I didn't really know why. But when I finished the list before we got on the road, he said, every time you think about coming home, I want you to go to this list.
Oh, that's good.
So it was that reminder of this is not just, a game or not life. And you can obviously come home to visit,
Hmm.
but it won't be, because you're retreating. We go, we burn the ship, and we stay and we fight to the end. So, generally speaking, I spent a number of nights in Texas, more so than any other place that I've lived, at my kitchen table by myself, literally crying, sobbing my eyes out, wondering if, and not because I was around bad people, but just wondering if I had made the right decision. Like, am I doing the right thing? Should I have done this? Should I have went somewhere else? But knowing holistically that if I just make the best out of whatever situation I'm in, I'm going to come out on top. And essentially, I feel like that's what's continued to happen in Texas. I failed a bunch, and heck, when I left Texas, I finished my MBA, closed my dance studio, moved to Atlanta, started with a consulting firm, which at the time I thought was kind of a dream job because it was cool. Everyone thought I was a cool person because I traveled a lot. Long story short, was laid off at the most random of times, even though, it went from being a cool job to I want to speak. I don't want to do this. I want to speak. I don't want to do this. And got laid off at the most at the most inconvenient time.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And it was in that moment where, again, it was like, I can't be perfect, but I'm going to be better today than I was yesterday. And so therein lied the beginning of this journey to put me where I am today.
I just really want to say thank you for just being transparent and sharing that because, you know, someone out there listening needs to really understand that it's okay. You have to cut yourself some slack, and nothing is going to be perfect and we're going to make mistakes. We're going to fail at things. And I love that you opened up, because that actually segues me into my next question, to be, to be honest with you.
Sorry. Thank you.
No, you're good. That's fine. That's perfect. That's perfect. So, but I just
Oh,
want to
I'm
say
good.
thank you. Yeah, thank you for being transparent. And so that kind of, like I said, it segues me into the next question. So, because we're all about, the story and the journey of our guests. And I know you've had quite an amazing journey, as we've heard so far. But I want to focus first, Dan, on a possible failure, a specific failure maybe that you had, in your life where you maybe just fell flat on your face or even flat on your back. And I want you to take us there
Mm.
with you. And we want to feel like we're right there. I mean, I don't know if that was the one that you meant that you talked about just a moment ago, but have you had or experienced any other failures, in your career that you could share with us?
Yes. And I'll speak, let's say, specifically to, my speaking career when I started out, because I felt, like I'm an outgoing person. I like to think I'm fun and entertaining. So I did something called showcasing. I showcased at a conference, and at this particular conference, you can go there and you invest, you pay, to perform in front of people, and if you're good, they say yes, we want to book you, and tons of people book you. That's kind of like the dream.
Hmm.
If hundreds of people are there, then hundreds of people book you. And I thought that just being, let's say, entertaining or just being fun was enough. Like, I didn't study the game, I didn't appreciate the opportunity, so I just kind of went in there and thought just being me was enough.
Yeah.
And I invested, at this point, I want to say it had to be a few grand. I got on stage and I thought I was entertaining and fun. And when time came, to for people to let me know if they were interested in booking me or not, and I want to say it was probably 50 potential buyers that were there.
Okay.
One person raised their hand, one, and that and them being interested in booking me was going to happen like a year and a half later.
Wow.
And at this point, I was already kind of speaking part time, so I was semi feeling myself like I could do this, but people like, but this was kind of the official, let's say, my official introduction into the market. And when that happened, I was crushed.
I'm
Oh
sure.
man, I was so crushed, because it's also one of those places where other people are there too. Let's say other artists, they're around, other potential buyers, they're around. And so it was kind of like, wait a minute, so that failure, and I have witnessed other people's failures in that moment and since then, and many of them quit. Like,
Mm.
I for that time that I experienced what I experienced, I have seen at least 75 to 100 people over the past 5 years experience the same thing and have quit. So I would say that moment, it was a game changer. It was a game changer.
I'm sure it was.
Yeah, but so I want to say, if there's a failure I can think about in my career, there have been small ones since, but that was a one that was going to make or break me. But it ended up kind of making me. That's when I just started to ask more. I became a lot more humble because, my dream was more important than my ego.
Right, right. And that's important. So it's critical. That's it just really shows, the kind of tenacity and the kind of, courage you have because even though you saw so many other people, fail or quit, you didn't. You kept going. You didn't give up on your dream. And that's awesome. I love that. That's why you're a success stalker.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so, so very much. I'm honored.
Uh, well, Stan, let's go forward, okay? Because I want to transition to the other end of the spectrum, which is what, we call the aha moment or that light bulb moment. Because just like you've had lessons that you learn, from failures, I know you've also had some amazing ideas that have helped you to become successful today. So just tell us one, Stan. And remember, this is a story. And you're obviously already a great storyteller.
Thank
So
you.
we want you to take us there with you so we can feel like we're right there with you. So take us down to the ground level and then show us, maybe tell us a lesson that you learned.
Oh, for sure. So the absolute the beginning of me realizing that this was what I wanted to do. Well, number one, let's say in college, I was a part of an improv performance group. We were called Slur,
Mhm.
which I'm recreating now, but it stood for Students Learning Unity and Responsibility. So we did improv sketch work on diversity issues. Now fast forward to me working at this college, and I begin to have to represent the college and give educational sessions at different conferences and such. And I just happened to be giving, I want to say, I think I did a community service workshop at a conference, and I'm leaving the room, and someone stopped me, and they said, "Hey, so what do you want to do?" And I was kind of perplexed. I'm like, "What I want to do? Well, I want to be a speaker." That's what I said. It was weird because I hadn't met this person up to this point. So then I leave, And about a month and a half later, I got a call from someone who knew them. And they said, "Hey, Stan, we had this leadership academy. Do you want to do it? We heard you were good." The person who told them was a person that met me outside of that room that I was giving the ed session to, and they never even heard me speak before.
Wow.
I did
Oh,
this. I did the session. I loved it, and I was like, I have to find a way to do this forever. That was the beginning, right? That was the first time, let's say, I ever got a check for speaking.
mm.
It was so crazy to me that I'm like, what? It was like people talk about, speaking things into existence, and I believe that 100,000%
So do I.
to be true. Oh, so true. It was just amazing to me that that person put me in contact with someone just based on that brief interaction. And that's why we're only a moment away from our dream opportunity.
You're so right. You're so right. I mean, that was almost kind of like divine, even, you know?
Truly, truly, truly. Every time I talk, because I mean, to this day, me and that person, we're still friends.
Mhm.
Every time I talk, I'm like, hey, thank you. If it weren't for you, she laughs, ha ha ha. I'm like, no, I am for real. Like it was a game changer. And it's funny that
Wow.
that particular school now, I mean, she's since moved on to different schools, and I'm still at that school probably every year, sometimes twice a year. And it's just always nostalgic to go, wow, this was kind of the one that kicked it all off.
Yeah, how you got your start. Yeah, that's awesome. I love listening to aha moments from other people. And as an entrepreneur, we have them all the time,
Yeah, right. That's part of the problem too.
Right? It really is. And if I can just share a quick story with you, 5 years ago, I had, an aha moment. And, how it was kind of funny how, the name Success Stalkers came into play because I was talking to a friend and, we were actually business partners in another industry. He said something like, "Oh, I'm stalking my success over here." And when he
Yeah.
said it, I was like, "Wait, what did you just say?" And he said it again, and I just thought I started to laugh, and I was like, "That's funny." I said, "I like that." I said, "It's kind of like because you don't really put those two words together,
Right.
and
Right.
it kind of makes the whole stalker word sound,
Yeah.
good."
It's such a great metaphor if you think about
Right? It
it.
really is. And so I was like, okay, when I walked away, I was like, wow, so he's a success stalker. And it was like, I'm telling you, when I said that, it was like, bing, like a light bulb just went off in my head. And I was like, oh my God, like I should start a movement. I should start a movement
I
called
love it.
Success Stalkers. And I'll never forget that day.
I love
Yep.
it. And it keeps you up. I mean, again, for anyone listening, when your dream calls or when a night, I mean, it won't let you sleep. I mean, you'll wake up, it'll bug you. You'll have to follow through. It'll haunt you. So you must attack it. You must. I mean, give it a shot, and if it doesn't work out, okay. But it's only fair that you do that.
You're right. You're right because I said 5 years ago I had that idea, right?
Yeah.
And I started and I got sidetracked by life, and allowed some things to get in the way. But I never forgot about it. It stayed in the gut of I mean, just the whole gut of my being. And I'm like, I have got to get this going again. And it was just I had another aha moment last year where I discovered the whole world of podcasting. And
uh,
I'm like, I had heard of podcasts before, but I never really listened to many,
right.
or probably to even any, probably. And stumbled upon one, and I was like listening to this guy. He was interviewing people, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's what I wanted to do 5 years ago. But I thought I had to like travel all over the world and interview, and and I don't know why I never thought about just doing audio, but it was just like, wow, this light bulb went off. I'm like, oh my God, I could do that. I can do that. And that was in October of last year. And I started to research. I basically taught myself.
I love
And in February, I decided to make the announcement that I was starting Success Talkers Radio. And here we are.
That is incredible. I'm so glad you did that. And I think part of it is seeing things much like I'm sure I did. Is you see someone, you're like, I can do that. Or that's what I've been
Right.
meaning to do.
Right, exactly. Exactly. And that's why I wanted to have this show because, people can tune into us every day, Monday through Friday, and they can listen to someone like yourself or even me and possibly have or resonate with one of us because they may have a similar idea or maybe want to do something and they just need to be encouraged because not everybody has a mentor, you
Absolutely
know.
right. I was talking to, I was giving a talk and I was just mentioning, what do professional athletes do every single day?
Hmm.
They practice. And when they're not practicing, they're stretching, getting massages. But when they're not massage, they're practicing every single day to be the best. Heck, some of them that aren't even the best, they still got to practice every single.
Right.
But what I really feel like what we miss, just say as the quote unquote everyday working person or entrepreneur, is we're not practicing every single day. And the fact that you're on every day, Monday through Friday, is to say that every day you have to download good stuff.
Yeah.
Like if you're willing to watch 3 hours of TV, of mindless TV, which we have to have our vices. That's cool. Then you have to be willing to go, hey, every day for a half hour, I got to plug in. Yeah, I got to put something good in. We
Absolutely,
have to.
absolutely, and I'm in love with the whole podcasting world now. I'm so hooked, and I'm like, because I love great content, and especially if it's going to help me to move to the next level, in my business, and I'm so passionate about other people winning in life. So I just love what we're doing, and just more to come because we got some great things coming in the future.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Glad to
Thank
know.
you, thank you. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get off on that, but we're going to move a little further. Well, Stan, let's shift for a minute because I want to shine the spotlight on you for just a moment. Can you share with us one of your proudest entrepreneurial moments in your career so far?
Holy smokes.
Hmm.
Proudest moment. What and I know may go into something later on. My proudest moment was for this organization, I won Speaker of the Year and Performer of the Year. And what made it really cool was no speaker had ever won Performer of the Year.
Wow.
So but that's kind of, all along been my plan, but it just kind of worked its way out, because I think it's important that, for me at least, the way I do what I do,
Hmm.
I want people to have fun. I want them to experience something, feel something. But, you know, I want them to know that I put in effort outside of just standing and delivering. So let's say winning that award was awesome because it's from, your peers and from those folks. That award came from a group that when I first started, one person said, he's all right. It was from them. So some kind of vindication. So
I love it. I love it.
next to that, obviously, my parents being proud of me is a number one, and then being able to, finish some books, that folks, enjoy and have fun with. But yeah, I'd say if they're a proud moment, that would certainly be it. I don't think of them that much,
Mhm.
but which I probably need to do.
Yes, you should. That's why we wanted to that's why we wanted to shine a spotlight on you because not we don't always do that for ourselves. We tend to let other people do it, but it's okay. It's all right.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
But so yeah, I want to say congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank
That
you.
was supposed to happen, Stan.
You got that right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Well, we both know that, being an entrepreneur can sometimes be a roller coaster of emotions. And, you can be up today and down, within the next 24 hours and ready to quit, how frustrated it can be as an entrepreneur. So, tell our listeners, Stan, if you can, how do you keep your focus each day and keep that end result in mind?
the well, you said it in the question. I'm doing a better job. Obviously, I think into the future, but not so far into the future where I'm not enjoying the journey. So I've really continued to learn how to enjoy the journey, enjoy the process, and even when something's not, I'm doing better now at catching myself in some, let's say, destructive moments or less productive moments or unsuccessful moments to find the diamond in that rough. Like, okay, this was bad, but now that I'm over it, how can I learn from this?
Right.
And I want to say that's helping quite a bit in constantly being, let's say, what's the word I'm looking for? Being more purposeful in what I put into my mind. I love music. I love movies. Uh, but I'm also, again, very, like, I love action movies. I love comedy movies more than action. I mean, I love comedy movies,
Me
you
too.
know, but I'm not a real big horror movie guy. I don't know if that came from, being tortured by sisters when I was younger or what, but that might be TMI, but hey.
Oh.
So I don't know if that's what it is. And even with music, right? I love all kinds of music,
That's good.
but I'm very purposeful about with what I'm listening to and how I'm listening to it. Like if I'm listening to something for, let's say, entertainment, like I've downloaded into my mental state that this is entertainment. Like this is not who I am. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
It's
Oh yeah, I know
crazy
what you
music, like this is not who I'm just getting entertained, that's
mean.
it.
Right.
And then I listen to a lot of self-help stuff too, just again to make sure that stuff is always in me, and my I try to keep my attitude up, and if not my attitude, the people around me have very good attitudes. That's probably helped me most, because some people say, well, who motivates the motivator? And it's people around me that do it that don't know they're doing it.
That's so true.
It's the people help me more than they even know, period.
I totally can relate to that because, I'm constantly motivating, on the
Yeah.
radio and off the radio, you know.
Right.
But
And
there's,
I guess.
right, but there's times that, it's like, okay, I need to be motivated. So when I don't have someone around, I go to personal development, like you said, whether it's in a podcast or for a CD or, something, because you have to feed your mind. You have to constantly, pour, great content, good, positive, information. And because there's so many things out there that's always trying to get in,
Yeah.
that with the news, I mean, just even on social media, you can just log in and just see all kinds of garbage, so
Yeah.
you have to constantly watch what you're seeing visually and what you're hearing. So I'm very, very intentional as well when it comes to that.
Right. I love it. I call it, subconscious programming. And I really feel like that exists where, if you're not careful, things will just seep in. When I'm sorry to be so long when
No, you're fine.
it hit me like a ton of bricks when I was living in Texas. I had fallen asleep on the couch, and not that this, let's say I haven't had these thoughts before, but it really became clear to me when this happened. I'm sleeping on the couch, and I left the TV on. Now I'm dreaming. Now I am now dreaming that I am. Have you ever seen one of those infomercials with the people who are millionaires selling homes? Like,
Yes.
when I
Yeah.
tell you, I was selling all kind of homes. I made $30 million in a
I
year.
love
My
it.
first deal was $50,000. Like I
Oh,
was
wow.
killing the game. Now I wake up. I mean, smooth into my dream. I wake up, pick up the phone, call the number, order their platinum package, whatever it is. Fall back asleep. Forget. A month later, all the stuff comes in the mail. I'm like, what is this? Like, what?
Wow.
I'm calling folks trying to get a refund, and I had to sit down at my table, the same table I cried at many a time. I'm like,
Right.
wait a minute, is this the? I mean, so that just told me, I fell
Yeah.
asleep listening to this infomercial, woke up, it was crazy. So it just,
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you, I promise you, because I've done stuff like that.
if somebody would tell me that was possible, I would have told them they were crazy. I'm like, that's crazy. That
I'm,
never happens
it
to
just goes to show you how, our minds work. It's powerful, because
it.
your mind is always going. Your brain doesn't go to sleep.
It does not. It does not. That's what I say. Even if you're going to sleep with the TV on, be careful what's on
Right.
TV. If you're listening to music when you're going to sleep,
Mhm.
be careful. I mean, that stuff is real.
It's
It's
so
real.
real. It's so real. You can you're I understand because I was actually watching a movie once and I felt like I was actually in the movie when I woke up the next morning.
I go. I
So
feel like
yeah.
mess around, watch a Jet Li movie now. I can fight for real. Jason Bourne, I can't do it. I got to watch him. I just feel I'm a different person. I have now. Listen, Neo from the Matrix. I'm him. I can do this.
I love it.
Trying to pick fights at the grocery
I
store.
know, right? I love it. I love it. I love it. Wow. That is so funny and so true. So true. Well, because Stan, I know that you are a success stalker. Tell us, do you have any new projects that you're working on right now that you're excited about?
Extremely. So a few things I'm working on. So now is, I've been doing some more acting. So I've been doing some stand-in work, which is i.e. kind of stunt doubling folks is folks as well. And so now I'm
Awesome.
yeah, so now that's kind of my next big project is, doing some more acting, but our big project is I would like to create my own show. So let's say, i.e., a Jon Stewart, Keith Olbermann as Stephen Colbert, kind of like where it's fun, it's funny, but they're dropping knowledge and called What You Think But Never Say with a few different segments on there. Segments on there called The Doghouse and other things. So now that's kind of what I'm in the planning stages for and doing some, let's say, pre-production. But that's also things, again, if you're listening to this, that means you're investing in yourself. So I'm going to give you this, let's say, free info, if you will, things that you can do on your own, that don't take a huge amount of money. Uh, but you have certain things or a good camera. Let's say if you're an entrepreneur, it's important that you have a good camera.
Yes. Yes.
So you can catch moments and it doesn't look like you did it. Because when I first started, I had a website and it was, God bless it, but it looked like I did it, and I don't want and if you did not know, I'm not a graphic designer, so the last thing I wanted to look like is that I did
That's your idea.
it. Yeah, so I want to
That's
say that,
funny.
but that's my yeah, that's those are kind of the many projects that are up. My business is starting to grow now. So that piece of it is very important to me. I love hosting. So dream wise, and I'll say this, if you care and if the people that are listening care, there are a few people that I'm kind of modeling my career after
Okay.
right now. So let's say that would be I love Wayne Brady,
Hmm.
uh, uh, Kevin Hart, Nick Cannon, Ryan Seacrest. I love hosting.
Hmm.
I love creating a good experience for people, a great experience for people. So, the end all be all, if everything works out as planned and not planned right now, that's the direction that I'm heading.
That's awesome. Well, I'm keeping that in mind because we have some big things that we're planning in 2015, and I can see you hosting it.
Please, I aim to please. Let me know.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely be in touch about that. I'm glad you said that.
That'd be great. You know what? I know you didn't ask this, but I just want to share it only because I've I don't know, it wasn't To Kill a Mockingbird, or I can't. It was the best of times and the worst of times, right?
Hmm.
Um, but I was these different failures that I've spoken on, that I've mentioned. I was fortunate enough to I hosted a private audition for America's Got Talent, oddly enough, in Las Vegas for an executive
Okay.
producer for America's Got Talent. Now it's just interesting how things work because as I mentioned to you, that wasn't the first time I said this is who I'm kind of modeling my career after, that kind of stuff.
Right.
And I was dressed as sharp as I like to be, and the first thing the executive producer said, "Hey, you trying to, you look kind of like Nick Cannon." I said, "Hi, I'm glad you noticed." It's just very interesting
Hmm.
how things play out
Wow.
if you give them an opportunity to. And I,
That's true.
I told her 3 times throughout me hosting this private, I said, "Hey, if Nick ever gets sick, or if he's ever not feeling well," and she said something like, "Oh, you think you could handle, 50 million a year?" I said, "Hey, I'd make you want to pay me 80 million." It was,
Love it.
it was a crazy conversation, right? I only mention that to say that a year before that, it was like I knew that who I had in mind, that I want to work towards. But
Mhm.
I didn't play that moment. I didn't know that moment was going to be in the future.
Wow.
But you just kind of put things in place for great things to happen, and
Hmm.
they just play themselves out. It's really like watching your own movie,
They
depending
are.
on, what you want the storyline to be. And it's not always a perfect movie. It's not always a happy ending or a transition, but it's going to be what you put into it.
I love that, Stan. And I feel like I'm watching my own movie right now because, you know, we as entrepreneurs sometimes we don't always get started unless we feel like we have everything in place,
Uh-huh.
and that's one of the biggest things that I see for entrepreneurs are that want to do something in life. They want it all in place right then, but you just have to get started. And
Yes.
when you start moving, Oh my
Hey,
goodness. It's like, it's amazing how things start to fall in place. It's just,
true,
it's incredible.
truly is. For anyone that, listening, I just want to say, to be patient. That's what's going to be very important because starting out, I could have said, I want to do this. Well, I did say, I want to do this full time. But if 100 dates dropped in my lap on day one, I would have been so screwed. I would have been in trouble. I wasn't
Yeah.
prepared for it. Even
Right.
travel wise, my mental state wasn't ready to handle those kind of things. And now I'm over promising, under delivering. Just be very, very patient. And along your patient journey, you will meet people to put you in a place for more things to happen and more assistance and more resources and more knowledge. So you're not losing money along the way also, because that's what you can overinvest. That's possible.
Oh, yes, it is. I know our listeners are getting some incredible takeaways right now from you, Stan. Thank you so
My
much,
pleasure, sir. Thank
for providing so much value. I love having guests like you on our show, that really bring it.
thank you. I
And you are bringing
appreciate
it.
it. Thank you.
Well, we're going to move on because we are at the last section of our interview. And it's actually my favorite part because it's called the success round. So if you like to box, we're going to box for a
Here
minute.
we go. Ah,
So get your gloves ready. Get your
yeah,
gloves
I'm
ready.
ready. I'm ready.
All right. So what I want to do is I want to ask you some questions and I want you to throw some knockout answers back at me. Fair enough?
Yep.
All right. So what was it that held you back from becoming an entrepreneur before you started?
Honestly, self-doubt. Not not even believing in not believing in myself as much as other people believed in me.
Hmm.
Period. Like,
Okay.
knowing it, you have all the tools, but not believing in yourself as much as other people do.
Right.
That stops people every single day. That stopped me, but I was thrust into it, which some people it takes getting thrust into. But
Yeah.
that's it.
That's good. Well, what is the best business advice you've ever received?
All right. Best business best business advice I've ever received.
Hmm.
Create great relationships
Oh, that's good.
and be
That's
good.
critical.
Yep. Secondly, be good at what you do. You want to be good. Once you create those good relationships, you want to be great at what you do. Because otherwise, the people, even if they like you, they won't be able to use you at some point.
True.
Great
Good point.
relationships, be good at what you do.
Absolutely. Well, can you share one of your daily personal habits that you believe attributes to your success, Dan?
For sure. I always I watch I look at something and listen to something that makes me smile. I have to because I'm a product. I'm a product of my work and my thoughts, as many of us are. So I always look at something, listen to something that will make me smile. That is kind of I'm not a coffee drinker. I don't drink coffee at all,
Hmm.
but that's my morning coffee.
Mm,
So to me, finding a YouTube clip or some kind of clip that's 6 seconds long or a minute long, that's as important to me as someone's morning cup of coffee.
that's good. Start your day off. That's
Yeah,
awesome. I love it. Love it. Well, do you have an internet resource or say a business tool or maybe an app or something that you use that you can share with our listeners that's helping you build your business?
absolutely. I'm a Zig Ziglar junkie. So if you if you've never heard of Zig Ziglar before, change your life. He passed away recently. I want to say the last few years, but to me, he is kind of like the Michael Jordan of speaking. There's him and a guy named Wayne Dyer, but Zig Ziglar, I've been listening to him since I was a kid. My parents had me listen to him since I was probably 6, 7, maybe even before that, but that's as far as I
That's
remember.
awesome.
So I listen to him quite a bit, and I hashtag things. If you're on social network, I look for tags. So even if it's something as simple as motivational quotes or hashtag success, I look at those things too, and those are great resources for me that I use that help me kind of push forward.
That's a great tip. I
Thank you.
like that. That's good. Duly noted. I'm taking notes too.
I'm glad. I'm glad. It's the least expensive investment.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm willing to work with people as long as they're willing to invest in themselves. So there are different stages of entrepreneurship. You get advice, but know this if you're listening, at some point you have to be willing to monetarily invest in yourself. Okay. That moment is not always right away, but you will reach a moment where you should invest in yourself. Because for me and other entrepreneurs out there, that's how we know you're for real.
yes.
We have all invested dollars in ourselves. If you are not willing to do that, then we question your belief in you and in your ability to go forward, to do more. And it happened to me as well. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, because if you're not willing to invest in yourself, you can't expect others to invest in you either.
You cannot. It's not fair.
It's
It's
not.
not all
It's
fair.
selfish.
It is. Many a relationship has been ruined over money or the expectation of
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
Just keep that in
Oh,
mind.
good,
Have to
good
keep.
point. Good point. Well, our last question of the day, Stan, and I want you to just take a minute and just relax for a moment because I want you to imagine that you woke up tomorrow morning in a brand new world. Let's say it's identical to Earth, but you knew no one. And you still have all of the same experience and knowledge that you currently have today. And let's say your food is taken care of, your shelter's even taken care of, but all you have is a laptop and $500. What would you do in the next 7 days?
Wow. The next 7 days.
Because you're starting over again.
Yep, I'm starting over again. Now, there's a book I would buy. It's called As a Man Thinketh. It's by James Allen. So I got to buy that book because I have to keep my mind right. You know, that kind of have to keep my mind right. And that's only about taking about $14. And after that, I research the closest for me, the closest conference that's going on.
Okay.
I submit to that conference to do a session, and I would call that session "Find Your Sexy from the Inside Out."
Love it.
And and because that probably would be a month or so out, I write the book. I write the book because I have to have something to sell them after I knock out this presentation, so I can have some more money to get everything going. So,
Exactly.
so that's what I do. I find the nearest conference that is relevant to my industry. I submit to do a session there, and if not, then I may invest in a booth. You know, I write the book because I could do that. I could probably write a book and have it self-published for $300 if I'm paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm using the right resources. If you're listening, you can do this.
It's good to know.
You just have to be extremely meticulous in getting this done. That's what I do. That's what I do. And if I'm really careful, I might be able to find two conferences, but that would help me build that business. Now, if you're doing the math, you're like, Stan, if you go to a couple conferences, then you are truly putting your eggs in those two baskets, and it's quite possible you will be broke at the end of this. Well, if you are truly an entrepreneur and committed to pursuing your gift, this is going to be the toughest part of this to swallow, but it's real. If you are not willing to sacrifice everything, you almost never will have anything.
Oh, that's good.
You have to be willing. Not saying that it'll come down to that, but I am sure that I've been willing to give it all up. Like, I have nothing left.
Same here.
Here's my last boom.
Oh, yeah. Put it all on the table.
Put your money where your mouth is. Essentially, that is what you're saying.
Yes, you really are.
Like, it all sounds real good, but put your money where your mouth
It is the
is.
truth.
You know, and that's the difference. I hope that answered the question
It
well.
does. It certainly does. I mean, it's great. I love your answer. It's awesome. So, Stan, I just thank you so much for just, being on our show today. And really, I just love hearing about your journey. And it's been so inspiring. And I know our listeners have gotten some great, takeaways and tips from you today. And before we leave, if you can just do one thing for me, if you
Mhm.
can just share the best way they can find you, but before you do that, give them one parting piece of advice, before you go, and let them know the best way they can find you, and then we'll say goodbye.
Right. Best parting words. Just continue to find ways to be a better version of yourself. Yeah.
That's good.
Continue to find ways to be a better version of yourself. Just being happy, smiling. You deserve to smile. You deserve to laugh. You deserve to have a good time. You deserve all those things. So just find ways to continue to be a better version of yourself. All right? write that down. Even if you write that down and put on a post-it and put it on your mirror somewhere, just be a better version of myself today.
I love
That's
that.
it.
Love it.
Ways.
How can they find you?
I'm sorry. Yeah. Find me stanpearson.com, STANPEARSON, and on all social media at The Real Stan P. That's Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at The Real Stan P as in Pearson. And I look forward to hearing from some of y'all. And thank you so very much for interviewing me. This is truly an honor. I had a great time.
Same here. And Stan, they can also, find the links to everything that we've been chatting about today as well at successstalkersradio.com/Stan Pearson. And it will all be there in the show notes.
Sweet. Thank you. I got my own slash, people.
Yeah, I got your own slash. So Stan, we appreciate you again for being so generous with your time. And so I say thank you. And I know our listeners say thank you as well. And for everyone out there listening, and thank you for tuning in today. And until our next episode, remember to keep stalking success. Well, that'll do it for another episode of Success Stalkers Radio. If you'd like to hear more from these inspiring entrepreneurs and entertainers, be sure to subscribe to the Success Stalkers Radio podcast on iTunes. And if you found value in this episode, give us a review. Hopefully 5 stars. You may also visit us at successstalkers.com. Leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you.